You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates. Sarah Gulseth's away for today, but she'll be back soon. Don't worry. Today we have a great story to share with you of a new recognized service organization serving in their community, really doing wonderful mercy work in their community in Fort Wayne. We're going to share that with you in just a moment. Thank you to Concordia University, Wisconsin for your support of the Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu. Live Uncommon. Joining me today, Deaconess Kim Trombley. She's the new executive director for the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Deaconess Kim, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Andy, and thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. And also joining us today, Deaconess Rachel Jaseph. She's the founding executive director for the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. Deaconess Rachel, thanks so much for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
So this is kind of unique that an organization has both the founding executive director and the new executive director kind of overlapping in time. And it's so nice to have both of you on today to share the story of the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach and an upcoming event that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity to get outside and spend some time together doing something fun and all for a good purpose, supporting the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. We'll share more of those details in later in the program. So Deaconess Rachel, share with us the community of where Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach is located. Paint a picture for us about this community.
Yeah, so the community where we have set up the Shepherd's Hand is just east of downtown Fort Wayne, and it's right between two neighborhoods, kind of the cross between two neighborhoods in the east side and kind of getting toward the southeast side. And for those who know Fort Wayne, they'll know that the east and southeast side of Fort Wayne years ago had a lot of industry leave. And so years later now, a couple decades later, we have found ourselves in the middle of a neighborhood that a lot of people have left and that has a lot of people moving in and out of it, sometimes with some unstable circumstances in their lives. A lot of families in our immediate neighborhood struggle with various issues connected to poverty, related to health, lack of health access sometimes, and needing educational support in different ways. When you look at statistics, which statistics are definitely worth something, but we hear various stories as we get to know people. But the statistics show that we have a very high school dropout rate, unfortunately, and we have very high unemployment or underemployment. So, a lot of the various issues that the families we serve in our neighborhood are dealing with are all intertwined in some of those challenges. It's a community that is blighted in many ways. So there are a lot of, you walk around and there are a lot of empty lots where there were once homes. And, having been in Fort Wayne now for a number of years, the more people I talk to, the more I realize, man, there are just a lot of folks who historically have connections to this side of town, but a lot of people, have moved away. And so, there's a lot of transients, a lot of families moving in and out, a lot of renters, which just means also that it's difficult to build a sense of community. My husband, Phil, and I have been living there in the neighborhood for about the past 3.5 years. And in that time, for example, there have been several families that have moved in and out in that short time in the house next to us. So for me, that's been indicative of just the transient nature of the neighborhood. And you couple that with endemic health problems, endemic drug problems in the community, violence, crime. It's not a place that a lot of people think of hanging around. And so we want to change that. We want to bring the light of Christ into that neighborhood.
So where did the idea for the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach begin?
Yeah, so the idea for the Shepherd's Hand was born out of a group of people at Shepherd of the City Lutheran Church, which has been around for just over 50 years now there in the neighborhood and is actually across the street from the Shepherd's Hand. And so about a decade ago, our vacancy pastor there at the at Shepherd of the City, Reverend Dr. Jeff Pulse, and a number of other folks there at the church thought, we want to figure out a way to reach into the lives of the people in our neighborhood in a meaningful way, and in a way that definitely brings the gospel to them, brings Christ's mercy to them. But sometimes having an additional facility or additional programs that aren't exclusively inside the church building itself can help build a bridge for those who maybe have had difficult experiences with the church in various capacities. So the idea was born to figure out a way to help reach into some of these issues associated with poverty, with education and health challenges that families are facing. And so a former reception hall and dance club and disco club back in the day was up for sale across the street from the church. And so the Lord provided the opportunity to purchase it. And then fast forward through the last decade of a lot of different people pouring into the idea and getting the space up and running. By God's grace, in 2018, we were able to open the facility to the community with a grand opening and start our initial education and health programs. But through that whole decade, it's really been a journey of a lot of people with vision, people with a heart for the city who want to see Christ's mercy come to the city and want to see families supported in the heart of the city where some of these problems are the most prevalent. So a lot of people with some vision to see something that no one had done in that neighborhood before. And so fast forwarding through all that, here we are.
And so as it's unfolded and you've had some time with the organization, share with us some of the stories of how Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach has been meeting these needs in the community as you've gotten to see it unfold.
Yeah, so it's, now toward the end of my time, it's a lot of fun, and it's really quite humbling to reflect back and see how, even in the short time that the Lord has had me here serving, He's really done a lot and opened some amazing doors. So, some of the many families that we've been able to interact with, the ones that stick out to me, I guess, right now are some of the folks who have come, for example, to our healthy cooking classes back before COVID, when we were able to have them, and Lord willing, we will again. Some of those families who came, they also turned around and wanted to give back, to get involved in volunteering in their own community. So they came to be served. They came to learn about healthy cooking, which is a big issue in our food desert community. Just knowledge of healthy eating. They came to the classes and then they said, you guys are doing some cool stuff. We want to get involved in that. And we want to plug in right here in the heart of our own neighborhood. And so they came then to our Thanksgiving outreach dinner that same year and brought a group of friends to volunteer and cooked some food and donated some things. So that was an important, I guess, milestone for me in just seeing that this idea was starting to take off, this idea of being a connecting point in a neighborhood with a lot of disconnection or lack of connection, I guess I could say. And that people want to not just come and get stuff, but people want to be a part of positive change in their community. And I really saw that in some of the relationships that we were building there. Another example is a bit more recent, and that's with our after school tutoring program. We're coming up on the end of our third academic year of doing after school tutoring in this neighborhood. And it's been slow to grow. The Lord knows why. We don't always get to know the reasons why. So it's been at times a little discouraging, and yet we know that His timing is perfect. And this year, even in the midst of a pandemic, perhaps because of the pandemic and fatigue with e-learning, some more families have started to come to us, and the momentum for that education support program has started taking off. And, we've been able to serve this year a number of families from the immediate area, families that just, the parents are tired of the e-learning, and we're able to support and do something because we're a small group. We're able to do something safely in person to help the kids who have fallen behind. So those have been two examples that come to mind of doors the Lord has opened there.
And I think you've shared before that the purpose of the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach is to meet these needs of the community, always pointing them to Christ and his church. How do you connect the members of your community who are recipients of this wonderful care to Christ and his church? In what ways do you do that?
Absolutely. That is the heart of who we are. We are very upfront with people who come to us, whether or not they are Christian. We're very upfront that this is the heart of who we are. So some of the ways we're trying to do that is definitely by inviting people to church, for sure, at all of our events and programs, but also to weave in opportunities to share the gospel. So, for example, at our after-school homework club, we do a Christ-centered devotion. So this school year, we've been working through the book of John. And, of the 11 kids who have been coming off and on, all but one have no church home that we're aware of. So especially in that program, we've been able to have some good conversations about the gospel, about who Jesus is. And a couple families have visited church. I think for some of them, it was very different from anything they had ever experienced. But especially with Shepherd of the City, immediately across the street, they already know where the church is. We also are trying to, and we'll talk a little bit, I'm sure, about this later, but build partnerships and connections to the wonderful network of sister LCMS churches here in Fort Wayne. And so one of the ways that we're starting to do that a bit more is to intentionally reach out to those churches that are closest to us, in addition to Shepherd of the City, to invite volunteers in. But to your question, we want to connect people to pastors to help bridge the gap where they don't know someone. So, for example, at our most recent health fair, we had 3 local LCMS pastors who were available to talk and pray with people who were milling around and interacting with our guests at the health fair. And so those are some of the ways that we're trying to work this in, to just be very clear. It's not a bait and switch situation, but we want people to know that we're here for it. We're here to serve them and love them and to share Christ.
You had mentioned that your time is coming to a close, and I know that you're moving to a new chapter in life. And Deaconess Kim is the new executive director, jumping in very soon. But Kim, you've been involved for about a year now as well. What drew you into the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach? What was it about this organization that drew you?
Definitely. So I think, as Christians, part of our identity is to reach out and to share the gospel. And what I appreciated and continue to appreciate about Shepherd's Hand is that this is an opportunity that's very local. And if you think about your neighborhood, anywhere, so that could be you, Andy, in St. Louis, or a person who is in California or Texas or Kansas, there are local opportunities to share the love of Christ with people who have never heard about him. And so what I appreciate about Shepherd's Hand is that it offers opportunity to share Christ's love in very tangible ways, but also in ways that are meeting a need that are very immediate for the people who are coming to be served by the organization.
You have a really fun event coming up in the very near future, and we're going to share more about that, an opportunity to get together and support the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach in an outside, fun way. We're going to share that in just a little bit. Today, we're talking with Deaconess Kim Trombley and Deaconess Rachel Jaseph about the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach and an upcoming fun community event in the near future. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates. Sarah will be back with us soon enough, just taking a little time off, and so we'll be glad to have her back soon. Today, we are talking with our friends at the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach in Fort Wayne, Indiana, learning more about how they serve in the community, how their community is served with the mercy of Christ and the word of Christ. We're talking with Deaconess Kim Trombley. She's the new executive director, and Deaconess Rachel Jaseph, the founding executive director for the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. So the community outreach of the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach really has been meeting a lot of needs. And I know the last year has certainly provided some challenges, but you've been able to persist. Deaconess Rachel, you mentioned earlier partnerships, partnering with other congregations and other organizations to meet these needs. What does it take to keep the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach thriving? It takes resources, right?
Absolutely. It takes resources, we talk about resources and certainly financial resources come to mind, right? Which is absolutely a part of it. And we've had countless congregations, individuals, not just from Fort Wayne, but actually people who have been connected in some cases for years with Shepherd of the City Lutheran Church and have caught the bug early on when the Shepherd's Hand was only just a dream. People who have supported financially to make it possible for us to get to where we are. But also the resources of people, of manpower, and likewise, a number of local churches here in Fort Wayne have brought volunteer groups even before the Shepherd's Hand was even open to the public, when it was just a dream again, and they helped to paint and do sometimes the grunt work just related to the building, but also we've had groups collect diapers for our diaper bank that we hand out at our health resource fairs and a number of different ways. So it's really been exciting to see the Fort Wayne LCMS community catch on and see some of the folks who have been involved since the early days spread the word and be advocates for the work and to say, hey, there's some great Christ-centered work happening over on the East Side. Did you know about it? So word of mouth is also an amazing way that the Fort Wayne community has been really supportive.
And so some of those resources mean collectively, joining together to support the community outreach of the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. And so you have a great event coming up. Deaconess Kim, would you like to tell us about this upcoming event?
Yes, we have a 5K coming up May 15th, and we'll be running in the neighborhood. And if you aren't a runner, you can always walk. We're also inviting families to come and walk with your kids, because part of Shepherd's Hand's mission is really about holistic wellness, about soul, body, and mind being cared for. And part of that is being physically active. And it's also a way for us to be present in our community. And so May 15th, we'll be having our first 5K. We've had great sign up so far, as well as volunteers from local churches, but also from our local Lutheran high school, who are going to come and be a part of the event.
Very good. Now, what do we need to know to participate in this event? Deaconess Kim?
Yes. So you can always go to our website at shepherdshandfortwayne.org. And on there, you'll find that there's participant forms, but also volunteer forms and donor forms. And so let's say that you're in another state, but you really want to support the work that we're doing. We would love for you to sponsor a spot for a runner who may not be able to afford the entry cost. So the entry cost for the 5K is $20 a runner or walker, because we wanted to make sure that it's accessible to families, but also to folks in our neighborhood. And so we encourage you to reach out to us, help us sponsor some families who may not be able to be a part of the event due to finances. And we're committed to including people who may need a little extra help to be part of it.
Well, it sounds like a fun event. I'm praying that you have great weather for this event.
Yes.
So get out and enjoy it and get to know the people who make up Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. Anything else you'd like for us to know about the event, Deaconess Rachel?
I think Deaconess Kim really covered the big stuff and the heart of what we're doing. I do want to highlight too that we've intentionally put the route for the 5K through our neighborhood, because we very much want to, of course, not only involve families from our community, but we also want to show that we're here present in the actual neighborhood, that we're, despite the crime and some of the problems that everyone knows is a big problem on the east and southeast side, that we're not afraid of our community, that we love our neighborhood, that we love the families that we're serving, and that together as a community we can work together, Lord willing, toward positive and healthy change in our immediate community. So that was an intentional choice that our board made, to put the route through our neighborhood. We're going to be right there in East Central, and so we're doing that on purpose, and we're excited to.
Yeah, we're also, all of the funds that are raised from the 5K are going to be used to put in a basketball hoop in the community. And it may sound really simple, but if you walk into the neighborhood where we serve, there really isn't any recreational activity for kids or even adults to be able to just be active in a safe area. And so our intention is to, and we'll be putting it in here in the summer, a basketball goal on the church parking lot that's next to Shepherd's Hand, in order for people to get outside and get active. And also some other things that we're working towards is really to involve the community as well, because part of who we are is to serve, but also to be served, to help people see that even if they are receiving service from Shepherd's Hand right now, that they can be part of serving, and that there's this beautiful cycle of service, and that we can point others towards Christ. And also, as we are working towards bringing more awareness in the area for health and wellness, and also an active lifestyle, that part of that is being present, just like what Deaconess Rachel said, is that people need to know where we are and what we're about. And so those are our main focus areas for the 5K.
Now, Deaconess Kim, are you a basketball star? Are you challenging anyone once the once the new hoop is up? Are you challenging them to a game right there?
We will definitely play a few game of horse. We can.
All right.
I'll play a few horse challenges.
Deaconess Rachel, you had mentioned that your time is coming to a close at the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach in Fort Wayne. What have you learned in your time with Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach?
So I've learned so many things, but one that really rises to the surface, and I don't mean it to sound cliche, because it does ring true, is it's just that God's mission is the same everywhere. And what I mean by that is that, prior to coming to serve at the Shepherd's Hand and at Shepherd of the City, I served as an LCMS missionary in Latin America. And during my work there, I was formed in so many ways, but then coming to Fort Wayne, I see so many of the same needs, the same opportunities, and obviously the same need for the gospel everywhere. And so it's been a really interesting, informative perspective during these years serving at the Shepherd's Hand. But also I've learned that we have such a richness in our network, in our connectedness as Christians, and certainly even more specifically in the LCMS circles, that in various cities this is the case, but especially in a city like Fort Wayne, where we're known by many to be the city of churches, and yet there are so many unreached people, and so many people who once went to church, and for one reason or another they got out of the habit, and so they're not receiving the Lord's gifts right now. And so even in a city with so many churches, we have in that an amazing resource of assets, of skills, of people with so many wonderful ways of serving the Lord, and we want to pull together so that we can reach the lost in our neighborhood. I think it's a wonderful gift that we have, and in our community, and so I've really learned to lean on that network of support, to have eyes to notice the wonderful giftings that God has given to people. And sometimes he surprises us. God surprises us by bringing the right people at the right time. And And again, I don't mean that to sound cliche, because I've seen it to be true in various places of ministry. And I've certainly seen it to be true with the shepherd's hand. And I see it, frankly, in the Lord bringing Deaconess Kim to us at just the right time, because there are so many opportunities that continue to be uncovered, that God continues to open doors for us. And so I'm just excited, even as my time is coming to a close, to see the Lord's work continue through the people that he's bringing around.
Deaconess Kim, what are you looking forward to in your new role with the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach?
I'm looking forward to really seeing how the Lord uses everyone working together. And so Deaconess Rachel has built some beautiful connections in Fort Wayne. And it's exciting to see when churches come together and point people towards Christ's gifts. And so just like Rachel was talking about, I am looking forward to our sister churches and the church that is connected to us, Shepherd of the City, being involved in the mission of Shepherd's Hand. And I'm looking forward to seeing the surprises that God has in store. Because in my brief time with Shepherd's Hand, I've seen that, of the beautiful surprises that the Lord has brought and that always point to Him. And that is exciting.
Very good, very good. Where can we find more information on Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach, and particularly the upcoming 5K? I don't know if we mentioned the date for the 5K yet. What is Deaconess Kim, what's the date for the 5K?
May 15th.
All right. I think we might have mentioned it earlier, but I want to make sure. Saturday, May 15th in Fort Wayne, Indiana. If you're in the area, it's going to be a great event. You can register online. What's the website for that, Kim?
That is shepherdshandfw.org.
shepherdshandfw.org. Check it out. You can register there. You can become a sponsor. You can register to run, register to walk, or become a sponsor for the upcoming 5K. It's going to be a great event. And look for KFUO there as well. You'll find some KFUO fun stuff there as well, a little bit about KFUO at the event, because we are so happy to be partnering with the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach in this wonderful event. It has been a lot of fun talking with you both. And I know that if folks want to meet you, but they're not going to make it to Fort Wayne, but they're making it to the LWML convention in June, they can meet you there too. Is that right, Deaconess Kim?
Yes, I'm looking forward to meeting more ladies in the LWML and sharing with them about Shepherd's Hand. We just had our 3-zone rally here in Fort Wayne, and it was exciting to talk with the ladies about Shepherd's Hand. So looking forward to Lexington.
Outstanding, outstanding. shepherdshandfw.org is the website to learn more. Deaconess Kim Trombley, new Executive Director for the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach. Thanks so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having us, Andy.
Deaconess Rachel Jaseph, Founding Executive Director. Thanks so much for all your work with the Shepherd's Hand Community Outreach and spending some time with us today.
Thanks so much. It's been great to be with you and to share about God's continued work.
You've been listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support The Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.